let's turn some raw beef fat or suet into tallow. And eventually we'll turn that into skincare products. First, we start off with raw fat that we pick up at the butcher. Generally, this is all kidney fat, but occasionally we will get some trimmings off of the meat. I get it not ground, and there's a reason for that, and I'm going to go over it. But because I don't get it ground, I then need to chop it, or Steven does. And then we'll put it through the grinder. And it comes out like this. Beef suet for tallow. And I thought this was a great teaching moment of why we get our fat in big chunks from the butcher versus having them grind it or something. See these in here? That's a scent gland. And we chop it up pretty small. Well, I guess not like super small, but you know, pieces like this before we grind it so that we can see if there's any scent glands. Because if that gets into our tallow when we go to render it, it will make that really bad beefy smell that's very hard to get out. Meat does that as well, so like these meat chunks, which is why we render the first render so low and so slow and I pull it out immediately. But even if a little bit of that scent gland gets in there, it's very hard to get that beefy smell out. So when we come across chunks like this, we just cut out the glands. And we make sure there is no hidden pieces, and that goes to the chickens, and the chickens love it, but we just do not want that piece. And if there's meat pieces like this, I try to cut those off, but again, we go so low and slow the first render that these don't have a chance to cook, which also can play into the beefy smell in your tallow. So just make sure, like, perfect. See how big that is? And this is a relatively thin piece of fat. This would easily fit into the grinder. And a butcher, even if you tell them to get the scent glands out, sometimes these pieces can get missed if you're not cutting it up small. And most butchers have large grinders, so they can throw in huge pieces of fat, or at least fairly large. And so that will get missed and that will taint your tallow. So just something to think about. I had to use that recording from a while ago because this last batch of fat didn't have any scent glands, which I am very thankful for. So there we go. Part 1 of turning beef fat or suet into tallow. We'll see you next time.